Welcome to the Secret Underground Laboratory Recovery and Salvage, where rude mechanicals do magic. Hello, I'm Bronze Age, Director of the Secret Underground Laboratory Recovery and Salvage. And today we're going to ask the question of whether a bottom in a French drawer is true or false. This piece is the base of an armoire, sometimes called a wardrobe, and it has a drawer here in the bottom, which we can see is falling apart. The bottom panel is made from a piece of very thin plywood, which is usually called door skin. Each of the corners, front and back, are blind dovetails, which means that they're cut into the back of the board so that from the outside you don't see the joint. Very nice. But what's really interesting is that this drawer is made with false French bottoms. Now, before we can explain the true significance of true and false French bottom drawers, we have to understand that drawers are a fairly new technology. Even though we're surrounded by them today, the origin of the drawer goes back to the chest. And I have to get pedantic now about furniture philosophy and theory. But basically, a chest is something which allows you to take all your treasures and put them in one place where they can be locked up and safeguarded. The idea is that nobody can come into your house and take your treasures one piece at a time. And since you've got them all collected into one place, it's too heavy to carry. Very simple idea. But the problem is there's always something at the bottom of the chest that you want to get to, and that means taking everything out in order to get to it. The solution, of course, is what they call the chest of drawers. Now, chest could be constructed in many ways. This one is with dovetails. You can see that the boards that made this piece are 1 inch thick, fairly heavy, and fairly strong. And you can do that because this is just the outside and it gets you as much space on the inside as possible. Drawers, on the other hand, take up the space that's on the inside. Of course, thin and lightweight is practical also means not very rigid or strong. Now, a drawer is basically just a box, and like any box, it depends upon the bottom panel to keep it from getting all rickety and loose. Which brings up another problem of drawers. The bottom is a very large flat piece of wood. And back in the days when a drawer bottom would be made from a large flat piece of wood, before the miracle of plywood, it had to be fitted in a groove like this so the wood could expand and contract with the weather. Wood does tend to get wider and narrower with the humidity and temperature. Obviously, this drawer bottom, even though it is made out of plywood, is not going back in this drawer. Now, it should be fairly obvious that a loose panel in a groove is not going to keep a corner joint tight. Something better was needed. A clever French cabinet maker named Duplicity came up with this scheme where he takes this piece of wood, which is called a glide, and glues it and nails it to the drawer bottom, just like this piece would be right here. And what this does is it gives him a extra bit of surface area here to brace the corner and make the cabinet or the drawer carcass fairly rigid. For the drawer bottom, he cuts a panel like this that slides in with this tongue and groove. And this is what is called a true French bottom. Of course, there'd be no need to call it a true French bottom if somebody hadn't come along and made a false French bottom, probably an Englishman. But as this is the false French bottom. Now, what it does is they've just glued another piece of wood here, like with the true French bottom, but it's so thin and small, there's no way that it can be any kind of serve as a corner brace. What it does do is it allows you to make your drawer with a very thin piece of wood for the sideboard, and then the groove for your bottom panel is taken up by this piece, the false French bottom glide. Now, to keep this from happening again, the replacement panel I've made, I put a pair of hardwood cleats underneath, which won't interfere with the way the drawer slides in and out, but it will keep the bottom from sagging and falling out. And it fits nice and snug. And as usual, I'm going to let this thing sit in the clamps overnight. It's probably okay now, but I like to let the glue set up nice and solid. Well, it looks like everything held together through the night. I don't think I've ever had a clamp actually pop off. But I had plenty of things that I thought were firmly glued that for some reason just moved apart. Well, that feels pretty solid. I suppose it's no great mystery why the French drawer and then the false French drawer fell out of use, because, I mean, let's face it, modern glues with modern machine-made cabinets, it's really sort of an overkill situation. Right here, I've got a fairly modern drawer. No one could accuse it of being too old, although I would have to say this is probably 40, 50 years old as I stand here holding it in my hand. Now, as far as craftsmanship is concerned, there's really no complaints. It's not very complicated. All the cuts are square. All the corners are square. Everything is nice and straight. It's certainly strong. I don't think the bottom's going to fall out of it, no matter how much you could load up in a drawer this size. And it's outlasted the cabinet that it was originally installed in, because this drawer is sitting around here as a piece of scrap I got from someplace, and I'm sure the cabinet is long gone. Now it's obvious this piece of furniture has gotten very wet, far beyond just ordinary humidity that you encounter. So the chances of it fitting smoothly like it should are pretty much zero. And actually that's a little better than I expected for a first try. The tight spot seems to be here on the bottom of both sides. And I can run my finger across here and I can feel this sideboard is actually quite proud of the back. Well, a little bit of wax on it, and I think it's going to be fine. The last step is to take a piece of French talc, which is sometimes called soapstone, and put a good coating on all the places where the drawer and the cabinet are actually going to meet. And this is a lubricant which will reduce wear and make the drawer move smoothly. Well, I think that's probably as good as it's going to get. So, this is Bronze Age for the Secret Underground Laboratory Recovery and Salvage, and thank you for sticking through this video about the tale of French bottoms and drawers. And I would really appreciate it if you would like, and if you haven't subscribed already, hit the subscribe button. Any comments are welcome. I answer all comments. If you have any questions in general on furniture repair or this repair specifically, please feel free to ask. And again, thank you for watching.